just because you're doing it, even if you're alone, doesn't mean that you're doing it for yourself. I cut it short 2 weeks ago, and I literally was crying in front of the mirror for a week. For me, in my brain, it meant becoming weak. You're not your hair, right? You're not your body, blah, blah, blah. Everyone knows that. Everyone talks about it, right? I mean, what is there to not understand? I'm still not seeing myself in the mirror, which is stupid because, you know, I'm myself no matter how my hair looks. Does that make any sense? Yes. Your hair needs to stay long or else you're not perfect anymore. The eating disorder, boys, is very active in all things superficial. Not just like plain to see things like food and exercise and stuff. Did the slalom around it as long as I could, literally for months and years. It just takes some time to realize, wow, my eating disorder voice actually creeped into this area. That is why I'm making this video. Hey guys, it's Miri, and here I am. I have cut my hair short for the first time in 15 years. Yes, and that's why we need to talk about it, because this is very relevant to my anorexia recovery and a vegan health crisis content that I make here on YouTube. So yeah, this is my first shorter haircut in 15 years, and I know it could be shorter. I'm still thinking about maybe like taking off until here, but I just couldn't do it so far. Yeah, so basically I just added some layers. I've basically had like long one length hair and quite long, like going up to here. For all of my life. But let's see what we have to talk about it. So here I am, the one who was known and complimented for her adorable long hair, the one who told herself she would never get weak and cut her hair because anyone can do short, right? Long is special. That's what I literally used to think. Here I am, having been consumed by beauty standards saved up in my brain that I need to meet or else I'm not beautiful anymore. I mean, that is the actual issue here. And here I am doing the opposite of what the fears and voices in my brain tell me, because that's the only way to overcome fears, which is facing them. You know, I've been thinking about cutting the hair, like, you know, when I had my first round of hair loss, like it was actually 6 years ago when I went off of the birth control pill. And, you know, there was an option all of the time, like theoretically, but for me, that was never an option because for me, in my brain, it meant becoming weak, you know, and not meeting my own personal, very hard, disciplined, controlling standards anymore, beauty standards anymore. And here I am going through a phase of suffering because I actually am suffering because I'm not yet used to seeing myself with this hair yet. Neural rewiring and being bathed in self-destructive thoughts and voices is painful. Theoretically, you know, they are lies, but practically it's not that easy. They feel so real, and especially in recovery, when we're doing so well, these voices get so loud, and even in my recovery still, like these voices need to be battled so hard. Yes, and I don't get it. How could long hair ever get so much power over me? I know it doesn't say anything over me. I know my worth is not found in long hair. I know long hair is perishable. I know there's gorgeous women out there with short hair. I know it's all in my head. That's what anorexia had always done to me. It was always beating me up for not being perfect and matching its military-like commandments so I could be okay. Mind you, to be okay, not like enough or good or let alone happy. And so I know in theory that long hair thing is just something that was ingrained into my brain as the ultimate beauty because people had commented and complimented on my gorgeous long hair all my life long. Until I lost hair. The first hair loss was due to going off of the pill, then, or not due to going off of the pill, but rather like because of the pill. If I had never taken the pill, then, you know, I would never have had that hair loss in the first place. You can actually scroll down my whole YouTube channel and you'll see these videos, what I did to actually make it grow back and to end the hair loss itself. And then the other hair loss was due to overtraining and adrenal fatigue. Then due to undereating, due to a parasite infestation and a bowel inflammation. That's when orthorexia and anorexia came alive again in my brain, and they were flourishing because I was not eating enough, and that's how it was activated. So yeah, the recovery bangs is what they call it on the internet. And these recovery bangs, they hit me hard, and especially my hair. Please hit the like button if you enjoyed this so far. It really helps my channel. And please don't forget to join my recovery group, my recovery support group, which is provided through my Patreon. Link is here. And yeah, it's where all of your questions will be answered by me and by others, but I will be there regularly. So don't hesitate to check it out in the link above. You won't regret it, and it couldn't be any cheaper, I promise. And so far, we are just me and one of my lovely patrons. We are waiting to just become a nice little support group for each other. So I'm turning 30 in April. And so at the age of 13, I developed anorexia. I grew out stronger and lived on in the normal, invisible, because socially accepted and encouraged and applauded. Watch your physique, don't eat too much, still watch your calories, keep self-control, and train as much as you can culture. That's a long name, I know, but that's what it was. Because who wants to go from one extreme to the other and have other people think of you that you let yourself go? Especially after anorexia, you know, you don't want to go from one extreme to the other. Like, especially not superficially, because people are going to comment, right? And that's, you know, that's what we are afraid of. Not knowing back then that any kind of, even unwanted or unconscious calorie deficit would activate full-on anorexia in me again. Especially when I got parasites, I developed serious bowel inflammation, and hence got afraid of eating most things as they gave me severe pain, which made eating disorder thoughts grow out of control. So when starting for recovery, meaning eating a minimum of 2,500 plus calories daily and with no exercise, mind you, this is where hair loss hit me hard again, coming in waves and going wild on me, which is a normal phenomenon in recovery after restriction for many people, as hair is usually the last thing the body prioritizes. The body only allows the process of shedding, like the actual shedding, the letting go, once there's enough energy coming in so it can repair and recover and regrow hair. So even after 1 year into full recovery, my hair still fell out and it got thinner and thinner. Mind you, I had lost hair some years before that due to hormonal changes, as I said, and imbalances after going off of the pill. So it wasn't like I had even grown back all of my hair to normal. Like, I still had a lot of different lengths of the hair. And yeah, but for some reason, I felt the urge and need to hold on to my long hair. Even though I had regular breakdowns seeing my thinned out hair in the mirror. I knew they were not what they once were because I had only half of my hair left. And I saw that. But after all, the compliments from others throughout my lifetime, because of my long hair, were stuck in my head so much, the more I resisted my husband's and my mom's and other loved people ones' suggestions to, yeah, just do something new. The more I reflected on why I could not just do something new. And it was because I was actually seeking and seeing part of my identity in my hair. Like, it's not an easy thing to admit because, you know, who wants to say that about themselves? It's pretty superficial. Yeah, and I know it sounds so ridiculous. And that's why I could hardly admit it to myself. Because my heart beats for all things non-superficial. And everyone knows you're not your hair, right? You're not your body, blah, blah, blah. Everyone knows that. Everyone talks about it, right? I mean, what is there to not understand? It's clear by now. We've heard it all before, and maybe we've told ourselves the positive affirmation of self-love into the mirror. I did, plenty of times. Like, you're not the face you're trying to shape and sculpt and make look leaner, like until it is rather the face of someone else. Still, the whole world seems to revolve around these things, these superficial things. Still, as far as your eyes can see, Those superficial things seem to get all that attention and admiration that everyone strives for so much. And still success, happiness, and popularity seem to be coming from how perfect your hair, body, and makeup is. Maybe you can relate. You and I are better off facing that fear. Doing it anyway. Doing the opposite of what the voices in our brain tell us. Maybe that means you're not going to put on makeup for some time. I did that for 30 days. Because you and I are only going to lose that fear by facing it. And doing the opposite of what it says. If you are in full recovery from an eating disorder or from any other fears or unhealthy thoughts and habits, then doing the opposite of what these lies tell you is already on your daily, hourly, and minutely agenda 24/7. Like, you already know that. Personally, I'm convinced that the ED voice, the eating disorder voice, is very active in all things superficial, not just weight. That is why I'm making this video. It dictates us to be perfect at all times and in all things, and bowing to thoughts like your hair needs to stay long or else you're not perfect anymore is only going to enforce and confirm that fear of your eating disorder. That is why we are looking into these areas as well. You know, not just like plain to see things like food and exercise and stuff. So just as with food fears and weight fears and fears around exercise and compulsive movement, we want to lose these short hair fears and the no makeup fears and just any fear of change superficially, really, or be it whatever else has to do with like your body or makeup, like superficial things or nails or like whatever, like plastic surgery, I don't know what. You just take your thing, and doing so, we're slowly going to realize, just like with all other areas in recovery, that these fears are indeed just that. False evidence appearing real. See what I did there? F-E-A-R. That behind these false evidences that only appear real, there's in fact nothing but hot air. So we can finally realize and recognize that we're just as beautiful and worthy and perfectly imperfect when we're not meeting our brain standards. Keep in mind that the convictions and beauty standards you carry in your brain and that feel like they are really your ideas of beauty. I get that. I always thought that, you know, I'm just doing this for myself, blah, blah, blah. That they have never been freely chosen by yourself. I know. It's society that chose you to do that. You know, you were rather passive to fulfill that. Because if you had been the only person living on the planet, there's no way you would have thought you need to keep up with these perfections. Because there would have been literally no one who would have told you what's most beautiful and what's not. There's no way you would have done all these things to keep up with no one, literally. And never would you have put on makeup just, you know, just doing it for yourself. I see so many women saying, I'm just doing it for myself. And I was one of them. Or like, I'm just doing it to love myself or to feel good about myself. Do you know why you feel better about yourself with makeup? Because you're actually reaching for the ever so same look everyone is trying to achieve. For example, big sparkly eyes, lean face, sculpted cheeks, full lips, etc. It's nothing new. Yeah, I know there are exceptions, like some people, they really prefer to do something really extraordinary, and I applaud that, but I'm just speaking for like the masses of women. You're thinking you're doing it for yourself, but think again. It's nothing new. It's just part of what society glorifies. I guess most of us will come to terms that we're not aiming for an alien look, even if we're home alone. We're just trying to create the look that is approved from the world around us and that our brains saved as safe, or desirable, or admirable, or beautiful, or perfect. So we can feel better about ourselves even if no one's around, literally. Because we're running around with a brain intoxicated by ideals. Like, think about it. Have you ever, put on makeup for yourself, just trying to stay at home just to feel better? And that is how you think you're doing it just for yourself, but in reality, it's just because this beauty standard is saved in your brain and, you're actually seeing yourself with someone else's eyes, with society's eyes. Think about it. You know, just because you're doing it, even if you're alone, seeing no one that day, it doesn't mean that you're doing it for yourself. Now, I know that all sounds dramatic and depressing, but here's the good news. We can change the way we think. We can literally change and rewire the way our brains work and think by actively doing the opposite of what it was made to believe. That's how our brains learn to believe all these convictions in the first place. Just by us doing things over and over and over again, and thereby confirming and reinforcing to our brain that these things are indeed what it should be striving for. You and I simply taught our brains what to believe and what to think is right and wrong, and what's beautiful and what's not. And we can turn it around. We can change our brain's belief systems by acting the opposite on fears and thoughts. I know it might not be new to you, especially in recovery, you know, but it might be new to you that some areas in your life about appearance that you never associated with your eating disorder or ED voice, your eating disorder voice, might in fact be part of your recovery, and you need to tackle that. For instance, your hair. Like for me, that was a crucial part of my recovery, and I just, you know, did the slalom around it as long as I could, literally for months and years. I cut it short 2 weeks ago, and I literally was crying in front of the mirror for a week. Now I'm not crying anymore, but I'm still not, you know, I'm still not seeing myself in the mirror, which is stupid because, you know, I'm myself no matter how my hair looks. Does that make any sense? Yes. Yeah, but I'm curious what else comes to your mind, as this is just an example from my recovery journey. Like for me, one example was the hair. What do you need to tackle? Like what superficial area do you need to tackle, which might not be super clear, obvious to you in the first phases of recovery, you know? It just takes some time to realize, wow, my eating disorder voice actually creeped into this area. I can't believe it, like, what the F? Come, let's share our thoughts in the comments, and don't forget to give this a like if this helped you, especially not to join my Facebook support group, my recovery support group. I'm awaiting you there. All of your answers will be questioned. Of course, Miri. All of your questions will be answered. I see you in my next video. Bye bye.